Due to the pandemic ongoing throughout the world right now, times aren't as happy as many people would like them to be. Nintendo has always said that their goal is to surprise and delight, and they've tried to shine a light on this period of darkness with releases such as Animal Crossing New Horizons and Pokemon Red Rescue Team DX. But beyond those games, like the world around us right now, the outlook for Nintendo's 2020 release schedule seems bleak and empty. There are some games that we know are coming out long term, like Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4, but I think it's highly unlikely that either of those two games releases this year, especially Metroid Prime 4, considering that it completely restarted development just over a year ago. And considering how long it took for the original Breath of the Wild to release after its reveal, and how much effort Nintendo seemed to have put into that game, I wouldn't be surprised if Breath of the Wild 2 came out next year, or maybe even later. So what do we have confirmed for this year? Well, we have an HD remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles, which is pretty exciting, although it doesn't have an exact release date. We also have Bravely Default 2, but it doesn't have a time frame of release currently other than the 2020 window. Pokemon Sword and Shield are getting DLC, but that isn't really a big new release. Ninjala could have some potential, and yeah, there isn't really much that we know. Nintendo could very well end up having a big 2020, but I think a major reason people have been clamoring for a Direct is not only that we haven't had one for a long time, but there have also been very few major releases up until pretty recently. And there's also very little that we know about what's upcoming this year. While we recently had the Indie World presentation, which gives us some hope for a Direct, maybe they're still gonna hold off, because what usually is one of the biggest reveals inside of Directs, a new Super Smash Bros. Fighter, doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon, because Sakurai said that due to the virus, the next character release is being postponed. Nevertheless, there still is opportunity to make some predictions, even if we're not going to be getting any major news anytime soon. What does Nintendo have planned for the rest of 2020? Well, today, I'm going to be trying to find out. In order to predict the rest of this year pretty accurately, I'm going to try to use as much information as we currently have available to form these predictions. I always recommend that we take rumors with a grain of salt, especially in a situation like this where fans are most desperate for new info. But maybe some of the rumors from some of the more prominent leakers in the community can help give us a rough guideline for what we'll be expecting this year. Again, we can't take what they say as gospel or anything like that, but using some of my own personal analysis, as well as what some fairly credible leakers have been saying, I think we can form some accurate predictions. Sabi and Emily Rogers have provided some ideas for what we should be expecting this year. In terms of the latter, she said it's a good year to be a plumber, a solid year to be an RPG fan, an insane year to replay old games, and a decent year for more casual games. In terms of Sabi, things are still a little bit more vague. One of the biggest holiday titles for the Nintendo Switch this year is said to have tires, a big hint that one of Nintendo's biggest series, Mario Kart, may be getting a new installment, and Sabi also said that Paper Mario and 2D Metroid will be getting new installments in their series this year. If we're to take in what these two leakers, who have some fairly credible track records, have said, and believe them to be true, Nintendo could still have a very big year planned. But will this all come to fruition? Well, when we start planning it out month by month, we'll try to figure that out. With a very big title coming out in March being Animal Crossing New Horizons, one that I expect to be very successful for Nintendo, not only in terms of the quality of the game, but also in terms of sales. I expect this game to eventually, over its life, pull over 15 million units. And if it makes that number, that would be the number 6 best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch right now. And because of how successful I believe Animal Crossing New Horizons to be, I don't think Nintendo is going to have much planned for April. Combine that with the situation going on in the world right now, when it's seemingly more difficult for people to go out and buy their games from their local game store because people are supposed to be social distancing from home. I think that if Nintendo did have any minor releases planned for April, that they're probably going to be pushing them back until we get this thing contained. Who knows how long that's going to be? It may be way longer than the end of April. Who knows? But one title that has been rumored to come out in May, the first title that I'm going to be talking about for this year's predictions, is Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered. Many rumors have been coming out from various sources that Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered is tentatively slated for a release in May. Again, due to the situation going on in the world right now, this could definitely change. However, many websites are reporting that Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered is coming out in May, and I believe that this makes a lot of sense for this type of a game. When you're Nintendo, you don't want to come back with massive releases back to back to back. You'd like to space them out a little bit more. And Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered, while it's a release that many people are getting excited about because Xenoblade Chronicles is a very high quality game that a lot of people have praised from the Wii, it's probably not going to blow off the roof sales wise. I think it's going to do decent. After all, the Xenoblade series has been doing pretty good recently, getting a couple million units per game, but that's normally where the cap is for Xenoblade, at least right now. Maybe this game will change things for Xenoblade, and I certainly hope it does well to support the series and the fan base, but as of right now, we could still project Xenoblade Chronicles to be a relatively smaller number of sales, definitely compared to something like Animal Crossing, which is why it makes sense to be slotted in a spot where there's not going to be too much competition from other Nintendo games. Until we get to the month after, where our first real prediction comes in. Going back to what Emily Rogers said, she says it's a good year to be a plumber and an insane year to replay old games. Again, we shouldn't take what leakers say as gospel, but she's correctly predicted many things in the past, and one of my expectations for this year is that we get a 3D Mario game released on the Switch. You could go back several months ago on the channel, and I was predicting that we're going to be getting a new 3D Mario in 2020. There was also the possibility that I was suggesting that we get a port of Super Mario 3D World if Nintendo wants to hold off on releasing Odyssey 2. And if the Mario Kart rumor is correct, then I don't think Nintendo is going to want to release Super Mario Odyssey 2 and Mario Kart 9 in the same year. We're going to get to Mario Kart a little bit more in depth later on, but if Nintendo wants to have a big Mario release this year and not have to put in too much effort for it, and this is supposedly a year where it's an insane one to replay old games like remasters and ports, then Super Mario 3D World being ported over from the Wii U, one of the few titles remaining on the Wii U that hasn't come over yet, would make a lot of sense. This game was a very high selling title on the Wii U, the quality of the game was pretty good, it has a more level based playstyle which would contrast that with the open-endedness of Super Mario Odyssey, providing two separate markets for 3D Mario on the same console, which would be very useful for Nintendo because that way the two games aren't conflicting with each other sales wise, because they both offer something different to the fan base. I've gone over why Super Mario 3D World would really work as a port on Nintendo Switch way more in depth than other videos, but this is why that's my prediction for June of this year. It wouldn't take too much effort for Nintendo to port it over, and it's a game that would do very well for them financially. This makes a lot of sense. The first new game since Animal Crossing will probably be in July, and this is where the 2D Metroid prediction from Sabi is where I think is going to be slotted in. In previous videos, I predicted a Metroid Prime trilogy to be coming out on the Switch this year, and that may very well happen, but I think a new game would really make sense to be slotted in July, especially since we just got Remastered in May, Super Mario 3D World, which is a Wii U port, in June, and the game I'm planning for August would be a remake of an older game as well, and I think a lot of people would be fed up with a lack of new games, and this is why a 2D Metroid would definitely make sense. And we haven't gotten a new 2D Metroid game in a long time. This is a genre that fans haven't been fulfilled with in many years. Sure, we got Samus Returns on the 3DS, but that is a remake of an older Metroid game, albeit an archaic one that definitely needed a remake and a lot of people probably hadn't played, so it was new to many people, but in terms of an actual new 2D Metroid game, this one, which Sabi says is supposed to be in the vein of Fusion, would definitely be something that people could get behind. And another way to ease more people into the Metroid series that haven't been as familiar with it before, to prepare them for Metroid Prime 4 that will probably be releasing in 2022 or 2023. Maybe late 2021 if we really want to be hopeful here. But yeah, I definitely think a 2D Metroid game could work being slotted in this place. We move into August, and I said this was going to be a remake, and there's many different possibilities for this. I've made an entire list of games that I think deserve a remake for Switch in a previous video, but one game that I think would make a lot of sense for this timeline that I'm going over here is Skyward Sword. This would take the spot because it would be the only Zelda game that would be releasing this year, and it would also buy some time for Breath of the Wild 2, so that would appeal to 3D Zelda fans. One of people's biggest criticisms with Skyward Sword was the controls, but if you were to implement the Switch Joy-Con technology into Skyward Sword, allowing you to swing Link's sword around, and it would be very intuitive, and you would be able to design it in a way that worked a lot better than the Wii remotes did for many people, then I definitely think that Skyward Sword would have a lot of potential here. Give people the option not to use the motion controls if they wish to provide a more comfortable experience to people, and considering that Nintendo already remade Wind Waker on Wii U and Twilight Princess on Wii U, then Skyward Sword being remade on Switch would make a lot of sense. Now some of you may be thinking, hey, why are they going to remake Skyward Sword when we already know that Breath of the Wild 2 is coming? Wouldn't that conflict a little bit? Wouldn't the sales of Skyward Sword's remake probably be reduced because of this? And to that, I'd like to say that Twilight Princess was remade on the Wii U, while we knew that Breath of the Wild was coming. So Nintendo definitely doesn't seem to be too concerned with this, and I can see them doing it. In September, we get a new Paper Mario game in the original style. But this isn't just the leak that I'm going off of here, because I believe that a new Paper Mario game would make a lot of sense for this time period. Fans weren't that happy with Color Splash. I know there were many people who liked the game, but it wasn't the traditional RPG that many people were looking for. I know a lot of people weren't happy with Sticker Star for a multitude of reasons. And while Super Paper Mario is generally accepted by the Paper Mario fanbase, as a high quality game. It's not in the traditional style of the Thousand Year Door or Paper Mario on the N64. And that's really what some people are looking for with the new installments. With Alpha Dream going bankrupt and the Mario and Luigi series not seeming to have a future, it would make a lot of sense for Paper Mario to come through and re-establish itself as Nintendo's big Mario RPG series once again. This game's release would have obviously been planned years in advance of knowing that Alpha Dream was going to be going bankrupt, but maybe Nintendo had realized all the way back then that the fanbase was really not being satisfied with these new styled Paper Mario games, and they would have to bring it back to what worked before. This would be a big release. I'm not sure how it would do sales-wise. It would potentially do pretty good, especially since there would be a lot of people excited about it because we haven't gotten a Paper Mario game in this style in over 15 years, and this is something that I definitely could see making the fan base very happy. In October, I think there's going to be 2 games. Now, if I was doing proper spacing here, I could have probably put one of these 2 games in April, but knowing Nintendo, they like to backlog things closer towards the holiday season, so I'm going to try to be accurate here and do what they would do. The first of these 2 games, I think, is going to be a Pikmin game. Now, depending on how optimistic you are, this is either going to be a port of Pikmin 3 or a brand new installment in the series, the one that fans have been clamoring for a long time, the one that Shigeru Miyamoto said in 2015 was almost done development, Pikmin 4. Considering that Emily Rogers said this is going to be a year where there's lots of remasters and remakes, then Pikmin 3 I think would probably be my pessimistic prediction, but if you want to go full optimistic on this, which is definitely the way that I would prefer to be, then you could predict that Pikmin 4 is going to be coming out. Now, I know a lot of Pikmin fans may be upset when I call Pikmin a more casual game, but Emily Rogers did say that more casual games are going to be releasing this year, like Animal Crossing, which is definitely more casual, that I think a lot of people would agree with, and Pikmin, while there are some more adventurous aspects to it, it is fairly casual compared to many other games out there, so Pikmin 4 could definitely fit that bill. Pikmin 4 and a new Paper Mario game, 2 of the most highly requested games from the Nintendo fanbase right now, by the way, but depending on how accurate you want these predictions to be, it's either going to be Pikmin 3 or Pikmin 4. Now, Pikmin 3, if it releases as a port, I definitely think Nintendo is going to announce Pikmin 4 before they release Pikmin 3, because if they just port Pikmin 3 over, there's going to be a lot of people who are upset, just like Metroid Prime Federation Force releasing. If Metroid fans knew that Metroid Prime 4 was coming out before Federation Force was released, I'm sure there would be a lot of people that would have been happy with Federation Force because they still knew that the game that they wanted was coming, and I think it may be a similar case in terms of the Pikmin fan base here. The other game that I think would be releasing in October is Bravely Default 2. We already know this one's coming out in 2020, and I believe this should release later on in the year. Have it release after Pikmin to provide some spacing between it and Paper Mario, considering those are 2 RPGs, and you may not want them to conflict with one another. Now, Bravely Default 2 is a Square Enix game. This is not first party published by Nintendo, so Nintendo may not even care about RPGs conflicting with one another because they mainly just want to push their own. But considering this is an exclusive series for them, and Nintendo would probably want to keep this, then they should probably space it out to provide more opportunity for Bravely Default 2 to get higher amounts of sales. In November, we reach the big title. This would be Mario Kart 9. Other than Sabi teasing Mario Kart 9, what evidence do we actually have to predict that Mario Kart 9 is going to be coming out this year? Well, since 2005 on the DS, there has been a new main entry in the Mario Kart series every 3 years. That is until 2017, with an enhanced port being Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But it was still 3 years after 2014's Mario Kart 8. But now this is 3 years after the 2017 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe release, and it seems to make sense to fill the void of a major holiday seller. Each main Nintendo console typically gets a brand new entry in the Mario Kart series, and I doubt the Switch, which has been pretty successful for Nintendo, will be an exception. The only caveat to releasing Mario Kart 9 is if they don't want it to conflict with the success of Deluxe. But Mario Kart 9 should still do well financially for them regardless. And if anything, the success of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would likely want to push them more to make a brand new Mario Kart game to get some people to double dip and buy 2 Mario Kart games on the same console. And for everyone who buys a Switch going forward, probably to encourage them to go and buy the newer Mario Kart, because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe may be reduced in price by the time Mario Kart 9 comes out. This would obviously be the major blockbuster for Nintendo this year. This major holiday title has been something that we've been speculating about for a long time. I thought it could have potentially been a new 3D Mario, but because of the rumors suggesting that remasters are going to be more heavily focused this year, and 3D World being one of the most likely games to be remastered, I don't think Nintendo would want to put 2 3D Marios in the same year. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes went out the window as soon as Pokemon announced that Sword and Shield DLC was coming out this year. I definitely think Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to be coming out next year now, but I thought they were going to be very likely unless there was some sort of enhanced version of Sword and Shield, and that's what they're coming out with. Breath of the Wild 2 could very well come out this year. and if it does, then that would probably take away the Skyward Sword remake, and Nintendo may not want to release Mario Kart 9 this year either. But I think it's way more likely that Breath of the Wild 2 comes out sometime next year. It may even be a spring game like the original Breath of the Wild was, but if anything, I would probably predict it to be that October, November key holiday range. Mario Kart 9 just fills this void that a lot of fans are thinking that we need filled this year, this big holiday title. Animal Crossing may well be the highest selling game on the Nintendo Switch this year, but it's coming out in March, and that's not the key holiday time for Nintendo when they want to push and get more sales for the holiday season, Christmas, and all that. Then we go to December, and I think likely nothing major is going to happen here, maybe a possible port or remake to further emphasize that rumor that was just thrown out there by Emily Rogers. Again, these rumors could be fabricated, but even if the rumors aren't entirely accurate, I think because of the information that I provided within this video and the evidence for why a lot of these games have a good chance of coming out, that this could still be a pretty likely pattern for Nintendo's releases this year. Again, due to the rough situation going on in the world right now, maybe we won't be getting these games coming out in this form. Maybe Nintendo's going to push everything back. But I'm hoping and I'm optimistic that everything's going to be getting resolved as soon as possible, and we'll still be getting Nintendo's ability to surprise and delight the fans like they've always done. Even if these predictions aren't exactly accurate, I think there is still going to be some great Nintendo games released this year. And since we're all supposed to be social distancing right now, maybe you could spend some of the time catching up on some of the previous videos that I have on the channel. I have a couple of them that are recommended for you linked on the screen right now. And if you're interested in watching some more of my content when it releases, consider subscribing and ticking the bell icon so you'll stay notified when the new videos release. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.